I think it's important to keep the cultural attachments to the piece of cloth because it was the main asset, the main medium of textile that was utilized right from the beginning. For us, our role is to encourage the ordinary Ugandan not to think that bark cloth is only for the rituals. It is a piece of cloth that can be used in all spheres.
When I was young, I would hear about bark cloth, and the affiliation with bark cloth was always burial, death, or some supernatural, demigod powers in the cults, something very untidy. I actually don't even remember how I outgrew that. That because several people have got that phobia. Right now it's decreasing because there is a lot that has happened with the bark cloth. But that phobia was too strong. Even touching or even seeing someone with bark cloth, they would get scared, would always peep at them and keep watching them to see what they're going to do next. So when I realized that actually people are appreciating other cultural materials, and I'm busy running away from my own cultural material, let me make it also good so that people can also appreciate it. I may not have thought about it directly, but it was like, they love this so much, they should like this too.
People found me buying bark cloth from markets, and I'll be sitting on a taxi and somebody would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've lost someone." So I knew that at the back of my mind. But personally, I was never in that kind of, never thought, I just admired the cloth. Because you see, I grew up in a village where there was making of bark cloth. And I knew the instruments, and I knew the fabric, and so it is again one way of trying to use bark cloth to open up to people, not to have these fears and phobias, because the first missionaries that arrived found people dressed in bark cloth, and then with cotton, people started to discard bark cloth. I would say ever since the Kabaka of Uganda was crowned in '93 somewhere, a lot more bark cloth making came back into style, and a lot more feeling that bark cloth has found its place again.
I realized actually the value Baganda attached to the cloth, and I think that value should be communicated to whoever is listening, that it had some value which was very important. And I think if colonialism had not happened and whatever, I think bark cloth would have gone a long way. The kingdom, the Buganda, they are coming up and saying, we want this and we want this. And one of the things they are doing is that whenever they go out to, give their word, or they say, they are putting on bark cloth. It's, when they go as Baganda, they have to be seen wearing the cloth, which is typically, it used to be clothing for Baganda. And for royalty, it was a big, big thing. So, I find it interesting that before everybody was like, putting on their suits and whatever, now they're putting on their kanzus, they're putting on their bark cloth, marching to the president and saying, we want ABCD. And I find it interesting.
Well, bark cloth is the most exquisite material that I've ever come across. It's a material that has a long history here in this country, Uganda, and it has got lots of cultural associations. It has an aesthetic quality, and above all, it is worth exploring in the present day era of artistic development. My mother was a full-time housewife. She was a teacher, but when she gave birth to 12 of us, she decided to stay at home and do the full-time job of taking care of her children. But then, as she was in the house, she would always engage in craft activities, and she was using backcloth as a material. So I grew up seeing backcloth in our home. What was fascinating was that at school, we're doing other kind of artistic engagements, but that are based on the European curriculum. So we're doing drawings and clay, but we're not doing any traditional crafts per se. And that went on until the university, when I had eventually the opportunity to free myself and say, well, I need to start exploring more about backcloth. What I think backcloth has given me is actually an edge to appreciate much more indigenous knowledge. I believe that in every place around the world, there is lots of treasures that we have perhaps ignored, and there is need to revive aspects of the past in order to be able to propel new developments into the present and in the future.